Perfect game for Roy Halladay.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Phaithful Phanatics podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dylan Davis, joined by my co-host, Matt Szymanski, George Ryder. Ginn is not able to be with us tonight. He's under the weather. But also a big shout-out to Paul Hudrick, former reporter for NBC Sports Philadelphia. You can check him out on Twitter, @Paul Hudrick. Paul, thank you for coming on. And how you doing? Paul Hudrick.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me, man.
No problem. So the first question is, I guess we were just talking about it for a second. What are your thoughts on the new Unis?
So, I don't want to trash it too much. And listen, I don't think it's a bad look. I think they look good, but and I know there's a lot of people behind the scenes who put a lot of work into that, put a lot of work into designing it. Obviously collaborated with Ben Simmons and Allen Iverson. They all gave their stamps of approval. I was really hoping it was going to be more like that classic Allen Iverson look, as you guys see there, that the gold trim and the sleeves. That's what I thought it was going to look more like, maybe with like a more modern twist on the jersey. We didn't get that. We got something that's completely different. And I guess that's where I'm at, is I'm accepting that it's got to be different. It's a new team. Allen Iverson doesn't play for the team anymore, so maybe we got to move on. But for me, that nostalgia, I wanted that. I wanted to see the AI look personally.
Yeah, I don't love it. Snap, I think, liked it the most out of the four of us. The Boathouse Row thing, too, like, it's cool. But, like, I feel like – and, like, Snap, I know you said they show it, like, a glimpse of it, like, when we're on primetime on TV. But, like, that's not really what Philly's, like, known for. They also look so much like the Denver Nuggets jerseys.
I think that's why they didn't do the skyline, because then it would have just been like, all right, you're copying Denver's.
Yeah.
I guess it's like their own little twist. Apparently they snuck TTP in there, though. Sorry.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
That was a nice touch, yeah.
All right, man. But, look, the Sixers have had, I guess, as busy of an offseason as any team in the league, and we're not even to draft night, which is a week away from tonight. We're not even to free agency yet. But just what are your overall thoughts on the acquisitions of, Doc Rivers, the revamped coaching staff in Philadelphia, the addition of Daryl Morey as the president of basketball operations? I think everyone in the city, for the most part, loves it. Just what are your quick overall thoughts on everything?
Yeah, if you're a Sixers fan, they've been knocking it out of the park. I mean, they've kind of hit every note you could want. They moved on from Brett Brown. They bring in a guy like Doc Rivers, who's got a championship pedigree, who just is one of the more respected coaches in the entire league. Kind of fell into their lap. He, gets let go by the Clippers. Elton Brand probably couldn't call him fast enough. 2 days later, basically, I think, or maybe 3 days later, they named him the head coach. And then not long after that, Daryl Morey comes into your lap. So, yeah, I mean, if you're a Sixers fan, you have to be ecstatic. Every move they've made so far has looked great. Sometimes, I want to give them credit, because when these guys became available, they pounced. They were aggressive in getting Daryl Morey. They were aggressive in getting Doc Rivers. But sometimes you're better lucky than good. And in this instance, to have two legendary figures, two of the most respected and most guys who have the biggest cachet in the entire NBA, fell into their lap. So you have to be ecstatic. I love the coaching staff personally. When you look at Dave Yeager's a guy who I thought could have been a candidate for the head coaching job. I love what he's done in his career as a head coach. He's obviously ruffled some feathers, whether it's with his players, whether it's with his front offices, but having him as an in-game coach next to Doc Rivers, I love Sam Cassell. Basically everything they've done so far has looked great. And now it's, like you just said, now it's the draft, now it's free agency. Let's see what happens. They didn't bring in Daryl Morey to stand on the sidelines and not improve this roster, because this roster needs to be improved. So, again, I think if you're a Sixers fan, you got to be reinvigorated with what you've seen. All
right, before we get to Snap, we have a few comments here. Nadir, hi guys, greetings from Sweden. What's going on, Nadir? Awesome. And then another Jake. You talk about moving on yet. TTP is on the jersey. This team is more and more unlikable as the days go on. Talk about a negative twist to the Unis, but
I like it. I think it's kind of revamped to the good old days.
Go ahead.
All right, yeah, diving in, going back to Doc Rivers. The word this offseason after the Boston series was accountability. And now with a guy like Doc Rivers as the head coach, not only do you think he is the right hire, but do you think he's going to keep our superstars accountable? With Joel being in shape and Ben shooting the ball, is this someone we can lean on keeping guys accountable on and off the court?
Well, I think so. And what I like about it is Doc Rivers, I think he's more than capable of holding these guys accountable, but I don't think he's going to come in here heavy-handed and calling guys out in the media and stuff like that. I don't think he's that type of guy, but he's the type of guy who's going to hold guys accountable, who's going to say, hey, I need you to do this. This is your role. This is what I need you to do. I think he's more than comfortable, and he has, again, that cachet and that respect that guys will listen to him. So from that standpoint, yeah, I have a lot of faith that he can hold these guys accountable. But I said, I don't think it's too far the other way from Brett Brown, where it's going to be a guy who's going to be fire and brimstone and just yelling at dudes because I don't think that's good either for a pro team. Like, you need a guy who can do both. You need a guy who can put his arm around a guy and encourage him, but then also when he needs a fire lit on him, can do that. And I think that's what, for me, with Doc Rivers, that's what is the most attractive thing to me, is that he can balance that, because they need it, but they need that, that kick in the butt maybe every once in a while, but they also need that encouragement and to give them that confidence to be better.
All right, we have Nadir here again commenting, Paul. Look, I don't think anyone knows the clear-cut answer to this, but just what are your quick opinions? What is Doc going to do if Simmons refuses to take jumpers?
It's going to be such a weird thing because, I want to start with this. When they got into the bubble, I think you saw that Ben Simmons was trending towards being, I want to put my stance out there as well. This is how I feel about Ben Simmons. I want him taking, 2 shots at the rim or wide open corner threes. I don't want mid-range jumpers. It's the most inefficient shot at basketball. Even for great shooters, it is an inefficient shot. Unless you're Steph Curry, I don't want you really taking mid-range jumpers. So that's the 2 shots I want him taking. Wide open threes, shots at the rim. I think you saw that he was more willing to do that in the bubble. We didn't get to see that whole thing come to fruition of him playing the 4, how all that was going to be able to play out. So I'm intrigued to see if that Ben Simmons, how he'll look. Whereas, what will Doc Rivers do if he has a wide open corner 3 and he passes out of it or dribbles into traffic? I'm curious to see how Doc Rivers will handle it, because I honestly don't know. Like I just talked about before with the idea of holding these guys accountable, I think he's gonna. If anybody can hit that right note with Ben Simmons as far as knowing when to push and when to maybe reel back, I think Doc Rivers might have the right mindset to kind of have that ability to read Ben Simmons and know when he needs to push and when he needs to pull back.
Yeah. Well, he's already teasing on Instagram yet again, so we'll see if it happens.
So, Paul, moving it on to draft night, if the Sixers do decide to stay at the 21 pick and not trade out, there's been multiple names we've been hearing Cole Anthony, Tyrell Terry, Desmond Bane. Personally, what do you think they should do at 21, and what do you see them doing at 21?
I love all 3 of the names you just mentioned. I think if they get any of those 3 at 21, that's already a good night to me. Especially a guy like Cole Anthony, who was one of the top recruits in the country coming out of high school. A big factor of why he wasn't as successful as maybe he could have been in North Carolina was his supporting cast. He had no spacing, no shot creation around him, no shot making around him. What I like about him for the Sixers is how many times have we seen guys on this team pump fake a great shot and then turn it into a bad shot or a turnover? Cole Anthony's not going to do that. Cole Anthony takes tough shots and makes tough shots. So that's what I like about him. I'm not sure what he is immediately. I like him as kind of a microwave scorer off the bench. I kind of see a little bit of Lou Williams in him, in that I don't think he's ever going to be an elite passer. I don't know if he's ever going to be a true point guard. I think he's going to be more of a scoring guard. So, but let's be real. This team absolutely needs that. They need a guy that can come in off the bench, create his own shot, can make a wide open shot, can do some things off the ball as well as on the ball. So I love the idea of Cole Anthony. Again, Tyrell Terry, I think, is in his kind of similar boat. I worry about his size, although you've seen reports that he has put on muscle and he has actually grown, because he is a guy who's, I think, 20 years old, so still growing and still putting on weight, still putting on muscle. So that's what I worry about with him. But same idea of a guy who can really, but more successful shooting the basketball at Stanford. And again, his shot creation ability, his ability to run a pick and roll with a Ben Simmons, I'm very intrigued by. And then Desmond Bane, I love as almost a counter to you taking Matisse Thybulle last year, because he's a similar player, but more on the offensive side, because he can really shoot it. You saw in his 4th year at TCU, really improved as a creator and a perimeter playmaker. So again, any of those three guys, I would be over the moon about for the Sixers. I think they're all legitimately really good prospects that all have a chance to help this team immediately.
All right, so let me put you on the spot a little bit here. So we know those are the three you like. Do you think the Sixers will be picking at 21 a week from tonight?
So I think at 21, yes, unless there is just a really good let's say there is an opportunity to package Al Horford to move on from his contract and get a player in here, again, that maybe fits better in that starting five. If the deal is you had to package 21 to do that, maybe that's something that Daryl Morey and Elton Brand look at, and it's too good to pass up. My gut says that they take someone to 21, but let's be real. They got 5 picks. There is no way. They may make 5 picks, but there's no way they're keeping 5 players. It's just not happening. So you're going to see some moves. You're going to see some things happening. 21, I don't know if that's the pick, because I think again, they can get a guy at 21 that can help them right now, that can help them next season. So I think they keep that, but the rest of those picks I think are 100% in play.
Okay.
Going into moving those picks, that was my next question for you. If the 21 pick does happen to move on, my question for you is going to be, with the number of second-round picks we have, could we see something like they did with Matisse last year to move up to 20? Could you see them packaging picks to, maybe jump back into the early second, late first?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And it would make sense when you look at this draft. Probably doesn't have as much star talent as some drafts in the past, but I think it's deep as far as guys who can just flat out play. I look at, a Trey Jones from Duke would be a great fit here as kind of like a traditional point guard whose shot is improving. It's good trajectory. You see what he does from the free throw line, gives you promise. He's going to be, I think, going to be an excellent defender at the NBA level from the point guard position. So if he kind of starts falling to like that 28, 29, could you maybe leverage 34 and 36 to get back up in there? Yeah, I'd be on board with that. Or even, a developmental big. Someone like Xavier Tillman is a guy I really like from Michigan State. Really versatile big. Again, another guy who has shown, you've seen in pre-draft workouts, apparently he's been hitting shots. If he can hit threes at the NBA level, he could wind up being a really intriguing modern NBA big. So, yeah, I 100% could see them taking a player 21 that's maybe more safe and maybe trading for a player on the back end who's maybe more projectionable, or maybe vice versa. Maybe take a guy at 21 that's more projectionable. I saw that ESPN, they said Leandro Bolmaro would be a guy that they could look at 21. I love Bolmaro. I don't see him as a fit at 21. But in that scenario, maybe you take a guy like that who's more projectionable, and then in the back end of the first round, you take a guy who's more of a higher floor kind of guy, and maybe not as high of a ceiling.
All right, real quick, before George gets to his next question, our other co-host, Matt McGinty, isn't able to be on tonight, but he's a huge Nova fan, so I got to get this one in for him. What are your thoughts on Saddiq Bey and a possible fit for the Sixers?
I love Saddiq Bey. I would love his fit here. They'd have to trade up. There's no way he's falling to 21. I can't see it happening. Now, could they maybe – I don't know how they feel about Saddiq Bey personally. I just don't know. I don't have any intel on that. But if they do like him, again, if he starts to slip, if he falls maybe out of the lottery, falls in that like 17, 18 range, could they do a modest trade up like they did with Matisse last year? Possibly, because it's not only does Saddiq Bey tick boxes for this team in particular, his 3-point shooting, his ability to create and make shots in general, his ability to defend, his versatility to defend, but young wings are really like the hardest thing to find in the NBA. So if you could find a good young wing like that, who ticks, again, Saddiq Bey, what I think I like about him most is he might not be like great at anything, but he's just good at everything. Just an all-around really good basketball player. And again, a guy who I think next year he's in your rotation next year. He's coming off your bench easily next year. So if there is an opportunity for a modest trade up, you package 21 and 34 maybe and move up a few spots because he slips, I would be all in on Saddiq Bey. Absolutely.
There you go again.
Yeah, moving on to everybody's favorite topic so far. What are your overall thoughts on these James Harden rumors? And assuming that it would take Ben Simmons to get the deal done, would you still want to do it?
So for me, I can't picture a scenario where Houston is eager to move on from James Harden right now. The guy's a future MVP, the best offensive player in the NBA. That's bar none. We really can't argue what he is. He's the best offensive player in the NBA right now. So I don't understand why Houston – and he's also, when you look at it from a marketing standpoint, he's the guy who puts butts in the seats in Houston. So I don't know why – very obviously limited butts in the seats this year, but I don't understand why Houston would be so eager to move on unless James Harden forces their hand and demands a trade. We haven't seen that yet. We've seen that he's concerned about the direction of the organization and all that, but that to me doesn't signify, yes, 100% he's looking to get traded. And also when you look at this condensed offseason, is this really the right time for Houston to do that? Might they want to give this, give it a year and wait for a more traditional offseason where they have a little more time? Maybe they have a little more leverage in that case. And then from a Sixers standpoint, listen, if the Rockets are willing to listen to James Harden and Ben Simmons, if that's the swap, you have to think about it. You have to, because you just look at the fit with James Harden and Joel Embiid and how dangerous they could be in the Eastern Conference. I mean, that flips their fortunes like that to me. That puts them possibly as a possible number one seed. It lowers the window to me because James Harden is a little older. He's only signed for the next 2 years. So you're lessening your window, in my opinion, but it would make you more dangerous. But then I also look at it, if we're looking at it from Daryl Morey's perspective as well, I think he wants to give at least a season to Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons to see what they can do. Maybe put better pieces around them, build the roster better to better suit their skill sets. So that's what I think. I think that the Rockets aren't in a hurry to do it. I think they're going to let this season play out. And I think the Sixers are in a similar boat. I think they want to see at least one season under Daryl Morey with a better roster around those two to see what they have.
All right. So we've talked draft. We've talked trade rumors. Are there what free agents are you looking out for, if any? Well, not if any, but who, and any names that you're hearing?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard with free agency, especially when you look at the Sixers. They're going to be a tax team, so you're looking at basically the mid-level exception, and that's it. You're not really seeing much else out there. DJ Augustine is a name you keep seeing a lot, and that's a guy that I would welcome with open arms. It's just a backup, steady point guard. Has shot the three very well in his career. He's tough. He's hard-nosed. Again, just more of a floor general type that I think could play really well next to Ben Simmons in a bench unit. So that's a guy I'd have my eye on. A guy like a Kent Bazemore, 3-and-D type player, just a veteran wing who can kind of help you out, who, you're going to lose likely Glenn Robinson III. You're going to lose Alec Burks. So your wings off the bench are going to be very young when you look at Matisse Thybulle, when you look at Furkan Korkmaz. So bringing in a guy like a Kent Bazemore who's just kind of a steady veteran presence. And if your young guys outplay him and you have to move into the back of the bench, so be it. You're only paying in the mid-level exception. But I think he could bring kind of a stabilizing influence to that bench. He's just a veteran, solid guy. So, yeah, I mean, there's just – as far as what the Sixers can afford, it's just really tough because there's not much out there. But those are two guys I would look for on MLE deals for sure.
All right, I got one more before we move on to the season itself and Snap's question. There's been two names, trade rumors that the Sixers have been linked to. That's Buddy Hield. That's Drew Holiday. Which one do you think is more reasonable? Which one do you think would be a better fit?
So it's tough. I would say, I mean, bar none, I think we'd all agree Drew Holiday is just a flat-out better basketball player. When you look at what he's become, one of the best defensive guards in the NBA, in my opinion. He's a traditional point guard, can run a pick and roll. He's not the greatest shot creator, and he's also league average from three. So when you're looking at what the Sixers are lacking, he doesn't necessarily tick those boxes. But yeah, if you swap, just in the starting lineup, you put Drew Holiday in there instead of Al Horford, overnight you're a better team, without a doubt. It's not even close. I think Buddy Hield is more realistic for sure, because I don't think you'd have to give up as much. I think. And I don't want to trash Buddy Hield because I think he'd be great here. I think he'd be a great fit because he's an elite shooter. He immediately takes over JJ Redick's role, can maybe run some of that two-man game with Joel Embiid, and for sure I would take him here in a heartbeat. But when you look at his contract relative to what he is as a player, he's not really a shot creator. Plenty of questions about him on defense. He's a one-dimensional player. He's great at that one dimension. He's an elite top-level shooter, one of the best shooters in the NBA. But that's probably not a guy that, they're paying him $25 million or so, I think, a year. So that's not necessarily a great contract for Sacramento either. So when you look at a possible, you hit, Horford plus a pick for Hield, I think that's way more realistic to me than the Pelicans looking at Al Horford in a pick for Drew Holiday. So I think Hield is the more realistic one. I think Drew Holiday is the better player. So, I mean, it's tough. When I say fit, I guess you would argue Hield is the better fit because he is just such a great shooter. But I would say overall, I guess Hield is the more realistic candidate. I don't see a path to Drew Holiday becoming a Sixer. You never know. But I think Hield, that's a very realistic trade target.
Okay. Snap.
Oh, sorry. I kind of just blanked. I'm sorry. Season outlook. Moving on to the season. We know Doc said he wants to be the best defensive team in the NBA. What kind of offense do you think we'll see Doc run this season?
It should be interesting because I think one thing you've seen from Doc Rivers throughout his career is that he's good at catering offense to guys that he has. You saw what Tobias Harris was able to do underneath him. That was the best stretch of Tobias Harris's career was under Doc Rivers. And so I think one of the things that you'll see more of 100% is pick and roll, just especially if you're using Ben Simmons as a 4. I would also like to see Joel Embiid more in that and him rolling to the basket more. It's something that he hasn't really done much in his career. My hope is that Doc Rivers can get through to him and say, hey, like, you're 7 feet tall and you're enormous. If you roll to the rim, no one's getting in your way. So I would like to see that. Again, though, I think that requires personnel that fits that. So, you need a guard that can really operate in that. Shake Milton's okay in that regard. I think, again, he's probably more of a bench player, more of a reserve. But if you can get a true lead guard, a true point guard to lead this offense, I think you'll see a lot more pick and roll. And if you can get a guy like a Buddy Hield, an elite shooter, maybe you'll see more of that 2-man game and those DHOs like what we saw with JJ Redick back in the day. Because, again, I think Doc's not a guy, to me at least, throughout his career, is not rigid. Like, he's not going to put square pegs in round holes, right? Like, he's going to find what works for each guy. And he's going to see, hey, when Joel Embiid had JJ Redick and this elite shooter, they ran this 2-man game and it worked really well. So if I get Buddy Hield in here, maybe I can run some of that. So that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting him to be open, and I'm expecting him to evaluate the roster, whatever that roster looks like from day one, and cater the offense to their strengths.
I just have a quick question for you, just curiosity. Do you expect Jay Rich to be on this roster to start next season?
It's a tough call. To me, I think he is going to look attractive to some teams because of that contract. And because if you're a team that's looking for a defensive kind of oriented guard, I think Josh Richardson is a better player than what we saw last year. I loved him in Miami. I thought he was great there. And I think that if he goes to another team, I think even this year, I think the one reason I think he might stay here is because maybe Doc Rivers sees Josh Richardson and says, hey, I think this guy is a better player than what we saw under Brett Brown. I think I can get more out of him. So maybe from that regard, maybe he stays. But then you also, again, when you look back at that contract, he could just be a real nice sweetener for a team in a deal. So I would say it's 50-50. I could see him coming back. And, again, Doc Rivers seeing a guy who he thinks he can get more out of, maybe gets more of the player we saw in Miami. Or I could see him just looking like a really good trade sweetener for a team with that really team-friendly contract and his ability to guard 1 through 3.
Yeah. I think Jay Rich just didn't really know his role in Brett Brown's offense last season. Let's switch gears. We got a couple more minutes with you, Paul. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but the Eagles. You gave your stance on Ben Simmons. Let's switch gears to the other star in Green. Obviously, he has had a lot of ups and downs this season, a lot more downs than ups. What are your thoughts on Carson Wentz this season? The bye week came at a perfect time, halfway through the year. What do you project Carson to finish the year like?
I mean, I think he'll be better. I really do. When you look at throughout, I mean, the interceptions are mind-boggling to me because he's been so good. I mean, fumbles have been an issue, but interceptions have not been. So it's been weird to see him kind of be so careless and kind of turn the ball over. I do think, too, when you look at some of his interceptions, when you look back, and I don't mean to be like a total apologist for the guy. He hasn't been good. I mean, flat out, I think we could all agree that he has not been good through the first half of the season. He's had a couple good games. He's had some really great moments to me, but overall, he hasn't been very good. But when you look at, let's say, like the Giants game, for instance, you look at that one interception he threw, or was it the Giants? Now I'm like pushing all these games together.
When he overthrew Hightower.
There was the overthrow of Hightower where the wind clearly was a factor.
That was Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the Dallas game, right? And then the Dallas game as well. The regular interception, where it's like, to me, if the DB could have made that play, why couldn't? And I like Jalen Reagor, but why couldn't have Jalen Reagor made that play? So that was like a little. To me, those were plays of circumstance, and I also think timing with young receivers. It's not quite there yet. I don't want to make excuses, but they didn't have a real true training camp. They didn't have a preseason. Jalen Reagor got hurt. They were relying on, for some reason, thinking Deshaun Jackson was going to stay healthy, which has not been the case. So I just think he hasn't been good, but also the factors around him have been abysmal. And then I didn't even mention the offensive line, which has obviously been a total mess. Looking like they're going to get healthy this week. But, I think it's a combination of him not playing well and then the circumstances around him being terrible that have just led to him looking even worse. So as this team gets healthy, Dallas Goedert's coming back. Miles Sanders is coming back. They're getting healthy on the offensive line. Travis Fulgham has really stepped up and been – I don't think this is a fluke. I think this guy can play. I think Jalen Reagor is going to be a bigger part of the offense. So – I like going forward. I like him to be better. I think you'll see a different Carson Wentz in the second half of the season.
Man, Paul would fit in great here at the Phaithful Phanatics. Yeah, we're all kind of semi-Carson apologists, but it's been good this year. Not going to lie to you. But, all right, so coming out of the bye week, Eagles, Giants, you look at the tough 5 games coming up after that. Eagles have a chance here no matter how bad and poor the beginning of the year was. You have a chance to get to 4-4-1 and kind of almost run away with this division. Just quick game predictions. Do the Birds get a win on Sunday?
I think they do, because I think last time maybe they took the Giants a little bit for granted. The Giants' defense is actually pretty good. People have kind of overlooked it because their offense has been such a word I'm probably not going to use in their podcast, but it just hasn't been good. The Giants' offense has been brutal, but their defense isn't bad. I like their line. They have some pretty good playmakers on the back end. So, I think they take the Giants more seriously this time, as they did back in Philly. I think it is going to be close, though, because it's a division game, and the Eagles are still working out some kinks. They're getting a little healthier. So I think they win, but it's close. It's something like let's say like a 24-17 kind of a game. I think they win.
All right, perfect. Paul Hudrick, everyone, you can follow him on Twitter at Paul Hudrick. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on our show, and hopefully we'll talk in the future.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it.
Oh, man.
Paul Hudrick, ladies and gentlemen.
What do you guys think?
Good interview.
What are you guys thinking about the Sixers now?
I think he hit everything on the nose, really. I think he hit everything.
One bad thing. I don't think they're staying at 21, but we can get into that another day.
Snap smile on his face. He's so happy for this talk.
Once I heard him mention Cole Anthony and how much he liked him, I just wish Ginn was here.
Oh,
Speaking against comments, he's watching everyone.
Yeah, it is.
Terry, Bane, Cole Anthony.
you're the one below that one. That one's better.
And then when we brought up Sadiq Bey, in many ways, the Sixers hate Villanova guys. He still hasn't gotten over trading away Mikal Bridges guys. So again, hope that made you feel a little better when he said that he likes Sadiq Bey. But anyway, guys,
I think Cole Anthony would be a great fit here. Would he be a better fit than Tyrell Terry or Bane? No. But would you be upset?
No.
No, we'll not be upset if we keep him. Take that pick.
That's how I look at it.
All right, let's move on to the Eagles. Paul just gave his prediction. He predicts an Eagles win in a close game, an NFC East game on Sunday afternoon. I'll give mine first. I'm going with the same here. I think the Eagles win this game, and we did a Party on Broad podcast last night for the Eagles, just kind of giving an outlook of the second half of the year. Our expectations and a breakdown of game by game wins and losses. I think this not only has to be a win because of the tough schedule coming up after the Giants game, I think it also has to be a win because, look, you were abysmal in the first half of this season. And then even though you beat Dallas, your franchise guy turned the ball over 4 times. And there's a lot of question marks floating around about your defensive coordinator, about your head coach and your play caller, about your franchise guy, right? So to me, the Giants, yes, it's a divisional game. I think it's going to be tight. It's going to be close. But this has to be a win because I know the Eagles weren't a good team in the first half, but they're going to be healthy now. Lane Johnson, Miles Sanders, Isaac Seumalo could be back this week. If not, the week after that. Zach Ertz is going to be back soon. Crayvon LeBlanc. Everyone's coming back. They're almost entirely healthy soon. So this has to be a statement win. Get back to 4-4-1. And really, it all comes down to 11 on Sunday. I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah, I feel like it has been all sunshine and rainbows, but we're getting to that territory where there's not many more excuses that we're going to be able to hit. Like, it's about that time where you need to win games and hopefully win some games convincingly, especially with the Giants. But you got your prediction? Is that what we're doing?
Well, let's give a little breakdown first.
Okay.
What do they need to do? George, I'll throw this to you then, Snap. What do they need to do offensively? Because although they put up, 22 points on Thursday night a few weeks ago against the Giants, Snap, we all know we were hoping for 30-plus. After putting up almost 30 against the Ravens and the Steelers, the offense looks stagnant from basically after the first drive all the way into the final 2 drives. They went scoreless. So what do they need to do offensively, George, to kind of right that wrong and get the offense back on track?
Well, I mean, last Thursday game against the Giants, Carson threw for 360, had 2 touchdowns and a pick, and we won by 1 point. Late game comeback. It was tough to watch, and it was hard to be confident that we were going to get a win in the end. But this time, I feel like it's the same story as last week, last Giants game. Like I said, if this offense puts up points, this defense is going to hopefully be able to shut down the Cowboys or the Giants. And if we can just put up points and Carson can hopefully throw like he did that game, then we should be okay. The offensive line is still a little banged up, but we're getting guys back. Hopefully Sanders is playing. It should be a lot better than last time. And if we win by 1 point again, then there's going to be some issues. But I don't expect us to go out there flat. I don't expect us to go out there and take the Giants lightly again. Like I think this is a game where we hopefully win by a touchdown and we take a bigger step towards winning this division with ease.
Yeah, you used the perfect word, man. Flat. Like either this offense comes out flat, or like the Giants game, they drive right down the field. They're clicking on all cylinders. They put up 6 on the first drive, and then they just go stagnant, and the play calling gets vanilla for the next 2.5 quarters. That's coaching, man. That can't happen. And to me, the key for this game and on offense is, bringing Carson back down to earth from that, hero ball, having to make every play. And how do you do that? You don't make him throw 40+ times. Okay. I know the Giants' run defense is a little bit better than their pass defense, especially with their defensive tackles. But even so, you have to have a balanced running attack. Miles Sanders should be back. He's averaging over 6 yards per carry this year. I think he's averaging 6.1 yards per carry, but he's only averaging 87 yards per game.
Yep.
That shouldn't add up, man. And it's like whenever Doug sees something working, aka the run game, he abandons it and gets pass happy. So to me, going forward, the Giants game, with Miles Sanders the ball, he's your most talented skill position player offensively. But get the ball in his hands. Well, it doesn't even just have to be running him 18, 19 times. I'm not sure he's a running back that needs 22 carries. Get him 16, 17 carries and get the ball in his hands out of the backfield 5 or 6 times a game. Shouldn't be that difficult. He's your best playmaker on offense. And Carson Wentz, your franchise guy, is a lot better with a balanced attack. Get the play action going, and you should be able to put points up on the Giants in the second time around. Snap, offensively, what do you need to see on Sunday?
I think Paul hit it on the head. I think that was a very good point. They just didn't take the Giants as serious as everyone else did. I think they kind of just overlooked them because they had a few good games in a week. Even though they had losses, they had some good games. They were playing really good competition really well. And they came into that game expecting the Giants to just roll over. You can't expect the Giants to roll over. They're a team that battles. So you have to battle with them. Offensively, I do agree that they should be running the ball. Miles did practice today, so most likely Miles will be playing, which will be really good to have him back, especially for this game. But on the other end, I think I'm going to go a little bit opposite. I think you do need to throw the ball. I think you need to shoot. Carson's coming off a bye. I came at his neck all last week about him not throwing the ball well, not making the right plays. Like, I want him to come out and have a really good quarterback game. Like one of them games where he's just slinging it. It's what I want from Carson. It's what I always want from Carson. Alshon Jeffrey might be back this week. So I think you should get him involved, maybe get Fulgham open to get everyone else on the field involved. And last week, you didn't really see much from Dallas. So I want to see Dallas get more involved in the offense because we know he's a weapon. So I do agree that 16 carries from Miles Sanders should be the target. I also think that Carson should be slinging the rock like he did before. But don't sling it like you did last time. Play well. Beat this team by 30 like you should have the first time. We'll let it slide because it was a divisional game. But this time you need to go out there and just show that you're back in the right headspace. You got a lot of guys coming back from injuries, Lane Johnson being one. So let's go out there, run the ball, throw it well, get down the field, and make sure the defense do what they do, and that's lock up, especially at the line of scrimmage.
I said it last week, but I'll say it again. Like, we're getting healthier and we're coming off a bye. This game's going to be mostly on Doug Pearson to flip a switch and figure shit out. And hopefully Levy can help him carry him that way. But if Doug doesn't flip a switch, we're going to have a tough time this game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and defensively, there's not too much defensively that I'm worried about. Daniel Jones got tackled by the turf last time we played the Giants. And that was the biggest play of the game for the Giants, other than that Golden Tate touchdown. So Daniel Jones doesn't really scare me. I know that your boy George, Danny Dimes, but once again, I need the Eagles to make him look like Danny Ducks, not Danny Dimes. Devontae Freeman, I know, doesn't shout out at you. I don't think he's playing, so I think Wayne Gallman's going to be getting the majority of the carries there for the Giants. Just, really take away Evan Ingram. I know that's difficult for the Eagles and their linebackers to do, but really, just take away Evan Ingram. They try to get the ball in his hands like as many times as possible in different ways. He's a tight end, and they run reverses to him. They run end arounds to Evan Ingram because he's their main playmaker on offense. So if you take him away, they're not going to beat you. Darius Slay can lock up either Golden Tate or Darius Slayton. I would imagine it's going to be Darius Slayton that he'll be shadowing. And then, offensively, once again, I think it needs to be a balanced attack. But I'm with Snap. Carson has a lot to prove to me this week. I'm a Carson apologist. I think we all are most of the time on this show. But you played awful. You played your worst game as a starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles against the Dallas Cowboys on primetime television, that with maybe one of the worst defenses in football this year, and you struggled to move the ball. You turned the ball over 4 times. Carson needs to play a clean game. I don't need him to go out and throw for 360 and have 3 scores like the first time he did against the Giants. I'm okay with 250, 260, 2 touchdowns, whatever, and they win the game comfortably, and he just protects the ball. I need Carson Wentz to do something. Not try to win the game because the Eagles are a better team than the Giants. You just cannot lose the game for the Eagles. That's the bottom line. 4 turnovers, that can lose the game for the Eagles against the bad Giants team. You're better than them. You're almost fully healthy now. You're a much better football team on both sides of the ball. Just don't lose the game.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And all they have to do is go out there and just show how much better of a team they are than the Giants. And like Paul was saying, we know the Giants' defense isn't terrible, like their offense, but it's Danny Dimes. Man throws a turnover every single game. We have
I'm calling him that though, for real, because that dude really did.
Danny Ducks.
Just don't call him anything. He doesn't deserve a nickname. Like, he's just not.
George's fault. It's George's fault. He called him Danny Dimes.
This goes out to everyone in the world, including the media. Stop calling him Danny Dimes. He throws one touchdown pass and all the Danny Dimes. I got that. You know, he's got more turnovers and touchdowns in his career, right? Like that's
Danny Dimes, the boy.
Nah.
Go out there and prove that you're a better team, because we are. Hopefully, we don't go out there flat. Hopefully, we can get the tight ends buzzing in this offense like we couldn't last week. And hopefully, we go out there and we win by a touchdown. That's the goal. And we need Carson to look good while doing it and be our franchise quarterback, not the 4-turnover machine in the Dallas game.
Carson is the best player on the field, and he needs to play like it on Sunday.
No doubt.
And a story, period.
Jumping back to the defense real quick. I said this last time we played the Giants. For some reason, it didn't happen. I need the defensive line to really put pressure on this kid. This kid does not hold on to the ball well. He does not make good plays. He is not a good quarterback. The defensive line just needs to get in this kid's ass, and I think this game's over as long as the offense is rolling, unlike last time. But we're a lot healthier now. If this offense is rolling and the defensive line gets down their throat and just gets to this quarterback, this game's over, man.
I agree, and you need to jump on them early. The offense needs to come out and score early and often. Put this team away. Like you said, so what did I say last time we played the Giants and on this show leading up to that week? It was this Giants team is not a good team, but Joe Judge has them competing every single week. You just saw them go toe-to-toe with Tom Brady and the Bucs to the end of the game. They went toe-to-toe with us last time. It took Carson Wentz to save Doug Peterson's job on Thursday night. So you need to put them away early. You let this bad team hang around and get confidence as the game goes on and thinks they can win this game, you're going to be put in a tough position, and Carson's going to have to play hero ball again. Just put them away early. Defense, show up from the jump. Offense, get points quick and early. So that being said, I actually believe that happens. I think that health is everything for this team in the second half of the season. This offense that had 8 different offensive line combinations in 8 weeks, a revolving door of wide receivers and running backs. Miles Sanders has missed, 3 or 4 games out of 8 this season. You're finally fully healthy. I'm excited to see what 11 can do. He's going to play better. They're going to put together a 60-minute performance, or at least close to it, coming off a bye week, because this team, outside of, I think, their first year together in Doug and Carson, are undefeated after the bye week. I think they only lost his rookie year. So I'm going to go Eagles win. Snap. I'm not going to say they get 30, but I'll say 27 or 28, because I really don't know if Jake Elliott's going to be kicking field goals for this team. So
I don't know if they'll get 30, but 28 sounds about right.
Yeah, 28 to 17. 28 to 17.
I'm going 34-12. I got faith.
12, yo. Okay.
I got faith in the boys this week.
12 is a crazy number.
Eh.
All right, I'm thinking
down a mixed extra point, and then 2 field goals.
All right. Yeah, I'm thinking along the lines like still a division game. We saw what happened last time. I'm gonna say 27-20. Birds win, hopefully more convincingly. And we don't have to have a late game comeback like we did last time. And we take control of this division. And we move our way to first place in a home playoff game.
Just think about this for a second, right? So we're all predicting wins. And before we get to pigskin picks,
we always predict wins.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Not
true. Gint puts the mask on more times than not. But this team's about to be 4-4-1.
Yes, we're right back.
If our predictions go true, they're 4-4-1. Somehow, some way. Now, I'm not saying that's a great record.
No.
But the slop that we saw in the first 3 weeks of this season, you're 0-2-1, and next thing you know, you're 4-4-1, and you're fully healthy, leaning towards a home playoff game. Just get me there, man. That's all I want. Anything can happen in this late December and January. I trust 11. Just get me there.
4-4-1 going into the Cleveland game. I think if you told us that 3 weeks ago, we'd be pretty damn excited.
Yeah.
I mean,
right. So let's move into pigskin picks. Snap a favorite segment.
I'm sorry.
No, I'll go first because we just talked about my lock. The Eagles did not cover the first time around against the New York Giants. I think it was at 4 last time. Right now, I have it at Eagles -3.5. I'm taking the Eagles to cover. They're fully healthy. They're a better team. Coming off a bye, I like the Birds here.
Okay. I was going to take the Birds too. So, yeah, if you want to go or me?
I'm going because you're not stealing my pick. I'm going to go here as to cover. I'm going Tampa Bay over Carolina -5. I think this is a big bounce back game for the Bucs. I took them last week to beat the New Orleans Saints. We all saw what happened. Jameis Winston by the end of the game was eating W's again. So I think that's going to spark a fire under Tom Brady. I think it's going to spark a fire under the whole Tampa Bay team. I'm not saying Carolina's no pushover. That's a divisional game. But I just ain't buying it. I think the Buccaneers are going to come out and they're going to easily cover -5.
I like it. George.
I'm back and forth on 2 games, but I'm going with the Titans -2 this Thursday against the Colts.
Oh, it's such a tight game.
Phillip Rivers.
Tough game, bro.
It is a tough game.
-1 on
I think the Colts.
now.
I think the Colts are a very average team. I think Phillip Rivers has such a weird throwing motion nowadays. It's so odd to watch him play. That game against the Ravens was fucking terrible. Both teams looked like shit. I think Titans come out and they run the ball down their throats.
Whoa. What happens? Paul leaves the show and we just start throwing this and that and this around?
Oh, my bad. You're right.
George.
You're right. It's clean. Titans -2. Lock it in.
All right. Upsets of the week. Tough week.
It is a tough week.
I'm going to go with – I don't really even know if this is an upset, but spread-wise it is. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks over the Los Angeles Rams. They're 2-point underdogs.
To pick them.
There's a lot of No. If it's a plus, it is the upset. It's an upset.
I'll even give you 2. How about that? I'll say that the Houston Texans beat the Cleveland Browns. Plus,
you know Johnson's out for the week.
They got the other Johnson, Duke Johnson. The better Johnson.
Duke Johnson.
You're crazy, dude.
Good.
All right, here's my upset. We are going to LA. I got the LA Chargers +2.5 against Miami. Herbert deserves a damn win. He's been balling. If it's going to come against the team, it's going to be coming against the Dolphins. I know the Dolphins are on this 2-game winning streak, and they just beat the Cardinals. Any given Sunday, it's still the Dolphins. They are not that caliber team. I don't care what you tell me. I don't care who it is. Yes, the kid's been playing good, but so has Justin Herbert. So I'm going Herbert. I'm going the Chargers. Lock it in, +2.5.
I was looking at that.
The Dolphins were my I was thinking about them for my lock actually.
I was looking at that too, but the Dolphins defense is nice.
Dude, the Dolphins are good, and it's weird. They're not used to that. I'm not used to that. It's weird.
They're a good team. They're a good team, but I think we got them a little hyped up more.
Chargers is definitely undervalued. I mean, their record is not what they are. They've been competitive in every game.
Yeah, no doubt. But I think that Cardinals game has people a little too excited about them. You're gonna come down from this high. They're not that type of team to just go. I just can't see them winning 3 games.
Rattle off wins.
Yeah, they're not gonna win 3 games in a row. They just stole one from the Cardinals at home against the Cardinals in Arizona. If you don't think LA's coming out firing, trying to cool these guys down and just understanding who there's some film on this kid now. All right, he can run. He can escape the pocket. Let's put him down.
George.
Upset of the week. I'm gonna take the Bills +2 against Arizona. Not many upsets I like, but
yeah, there weren't a lot of good ones.
I took the Bills +3 last week against Seattle. And so I'm just going to stick with it. If you want to keep undervaluing the Bills, let's do it. Bills +3.
I took the Bills too, but George stole it, so I had to use that.
Forgot I took it on the show.
Yeah. But, all right, guys. Everybody, let's see. A couple more comments down here. And these are true before we end the show. We have JJ wasn't that great on defense either.
I'm glad you skipped the comment before that. No offense.
Yeah.
But you can't trade Al and Matisse on the field.
Nadir, yeah.
You can't do that. That you can't. I'd rather give up the pick. Like I'll live with the pick. Like because they might mess the pick up. You know what you got in Matisse already.
Yeah. All right, for me, for Snap, for George, go follow us on our new Twitter page at Phaithful Fans 2. Phaithful Fans Dose.
Not actually Dose, the number 2, but don't get confused because some people.
Again, for Dylan, for Snap, for George, for my man Gint who couldn't make it, and big shout out to Paul Hudrick for coming on the show tonight. Have a nice night.